Okay, welcome everyone. Happy Wednesday. I just want to make sure that everyone is able to see my screen. I have the title of today's topic, the smart way to invest in pre-foreclosures. Um, can everyone see this on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's get
Yep.
started. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to be talking about pre-foreclosures. Most importantly, how you can pursue them and how you can benefit and at the same time help an owner on their financial distress. Okay, so this is the trend of foreclosures in the upcoming years up to July 2025. So as you can see, the trend from 2021, 2021 was really low. It's going to increase by a great percentage of pre-foreclosures. And this is due to the economy, the interest rates, the crash, people not able to pay their mortgage, they're falling behind. So there's going to be an increase in pre-foreclosure. So we're going to go into the details as to um, what's the pre-foreclosure? What are we talking about, and how does that impact homeowners in Illinois and other states? Um, okay, so in the United States, there are judicial and non-judicial states. Okay, so the ones in blue are judicial states. As you can see, it's mostly the Midwest, some states in the East Coast, but the majority of the states on the West Coast and south of the United States and north are non-judicial. So what does that mean? What it means is super simple. If there are judicial states, like Illinois happens to be a judicial state, what that means is that when the owner enters the foreclosure process, it has to go through the court system, okay? And therefore, the process can take up to 2 years, okay? So what it means is uh, for somebody to enter the foreclosure process, requires for somebody to be behind in their mortgage payment. So the bank is going to give them a loan, and there's a promissory note and a mortgage, and the homeowner is supposed to pay the mortgage payment. But for whatever reason, if the homeowner is unable to pay the mortgage payment, after 30 days, they're going to get phone calls, letters in the mail from the bank, and then about 3 months down the path of being behind, then the bank will officially have to file a lawsuit against the homeowner. And it's in legal terms called the lien pendants. Okay, you might have heard lien pendants, but in a nutshell is the foreclosure process. Okay, so it's a lawsuit against the owner that goes through the court system stating, okay, we made a promise that you were supposed to pay your mortgage, you have not. Now I will officially file a lawsuit against you, and unless you come current with the loan, then I'm going to take over the property. So the owner will eventually lose their home equity and ruin their credit. So it's pretty serious. Now, what about the states that are non-judicial, meaning that they're in gray? What that means is that technically the banks do not need to go through the court system to foreclose on the homeowners. Therefore, they can foreclose or repossess the property from the owner in as little as 6 to 12 months. So as you can tell, the states in blue, including Illinois, um, are lagging behind in the foreclosure process. Therefore, the distressed inventory coming from the foreclosure process will eventually recycle back into the market after 2, 3 years, okay, that somebody enters the foreclosure process. Whereas non-judicial states are going to be able to recycle distressed properties back into the market a lot quicker. So those markets are going to rebound faster than non-judicial states like Illinois. Okay, so now let's go over into more details of the foreclosure process and what it means to you as an investor, okay? Um, so it's super simple, but what's most important is how you can intercept the property in certain stages of the foreclosure process and how you can help and at the same time benefit from intercepting the property, helping the owner, and eventually it's a win-win for the bank because they get paid, the owner because they get to relocate, they don't damage their credit, and then you end up getting a great deal. Okay, so let's start. It starts when the homeowner has a loan under their name or their entity and they miss payments. So after 30 days, the bank is going to be after them, right? But the bank won't take legal action until after 90 days, so 3 months. Okay, so after 3 months, it's going to be official that the bank is going to file a lawsuit against the homeowner. So the bank is going to hire a foreclosure attorney. Um, and there's one company that manages and handles most of the foreclosures in Illinois. It's called Codilis. It's number one law firm handling foreclosures for banks, for lenders. Okay. So at that point, let me tell you the importance of being able to reach out to the owners. Okay. For you to understand that, we're going to go over a simple example of a property value. Okay, so let's assume that the property is worth 150,000 retail value. So that is the after repair value. Okay, the property is fixed, the property is totally rehab, so it's worth 150,000. The owner owes 50,000 to the bank. Therefore, the difference of 100,000 is technically the equity that the owner has, okay, in the property. So when we look at foreclosures, we're going to be focusing on owners who have over 50% equity. So that means that let's assume that they owe half of it to the bank. So they owe 75,000, but the property is worth 150,000. Those are the properties that we're going to be focusing on. Why? Because in order for you as an investor to get a great deal, you're going to need two factors. You're going to need equity and motivation. Unless you have those two factors in the equation, there's no way for you to get a great off-market deal. Okay, so you must have equity and motivation from the seller. So they have to be motivated to sell the property. Okay, so in this case, 90 days have passed and the bank officially files a lawsuit in the court system through the law firm. Okay, so it's officially in pre-foreclosure. So at this point, guess what? It is public record. So you are going to be able to know when the owner enters the foreclosure process. So it's called officially the pre-foreclosure. And you're going to know how much money they are behind, when was the last payment made on the loan, and how much equity the owner has. So pretty much you have all the cards on the table to take action. So at that point, it is super critical to reach out to the owner. Why? Because you can technically buy the property directly from the seller. Okay, so when you make an offer to the seller, not only will they be able to come current with the loan, but they're going to have additional money to relocate in a different home. Okay, so that is only with the condition that the seller is willing to sell the house. Okay, because there are going to be some homeowners who want to stay in the house. Okay, they don't want to move out, but there are going to be many who just want to get out of the house, get rid of the house. Those are going to be our hot leads. So in this case, let me give you an example. If they owe 50,000 on the loan, um, you can potentially buy the property for 75,000, 80,000. So in a nutshell, you're going to be paying 50, 60 cents on the dollar, okay? And it's going to be a win-win for everyone. The homeowner cashes out, you get an amazing deal, and the lender gets paid what's owed, okay? So that's when you intercept the property in the early stages of the foreclosure process. I would say 3 to 9 months within the foreclosure process, okay? Now, the next phase that you need to be aware of that is very critical in the foreclosure process is when the judge issues what's called the notice of trustee sale. What that means is it's been long enough, so it's about 9 to 12 months within the foreclosure process, and the homeowner has not come current with the loan. So then the judge says, we're going to auction off the property, okay? And the judge is going to set a date for the auction. So it's going to be an in-person auction at the courthouse, okay? So you are going to know as an investor when the auction date is going to occur, okay, at the courthouse. Now, at that point, we do not recommend for regular investors to go to the in-person auction, and these are the reasons why. If you happen to go to the in-person auction, first of all, you have to pay cash for the property
Oh,
within 24 hours, number one. Number two, you might be buying the property
sorry.
sight unseen, okay,
Thank you.
which is extremely risky. Number three, um, you're going to be competing against other investors, okay? So it's like a bidding war, and you might end up overpaying for the property, okay? So it is super, super risky. So you are pretty much competing against the big sharks at the in-person auction. So it's not highly recommended, okay? It is only for advanced, big pocket investors who know what they're doing, who've been doing this for many, many years, okay? And even then, they've made mistakes. They bought properties that are a complete trash, okay, or that are occupied, or they happen to buy a secondary lien instead of the primary lien. So many investors have lost a lot of money. And again, you've got to pay cash for it. So this stage is extremely risky. We do not recommend, but you're going to know when this happens, okay? When the property goes to the in-person auction. And that's officially when the owner will lose their home, okay? So now, what's the next phase in the foreclosure process after the property goes to auction? So when the property goes to the auction, many things could happen. If the homeowner comes current or makes a payment, then the auction will get canceled. Okay, so that is in the event that, let's say, you come in as an investor and you buy the house from the owner and you can finance the purchase. You can get to see the property from the inside and you won't have any competition. That's the big advantage when you intercept the property before it goes to the judicial auction. So when you do that, then the auction, the judicial auction, even though they set a date, is going to be canceled, okay? Because you've satisfied, or the owner has satisfied the outstanding debt. Now, another option is at the judicial auction, nobody buys the property for whatever reason, okay? So what that means is the property, it will immediately go back to the bank, okay? So the homeowner will lose the home, and then it goes back to the bank, and then it becomes a bank-owned property, okay? So those are the steps that could happen or that follow the online and the in-person auction. So in the event that the property goes back to the bank, then it officially becomes shadow inventory or bank-owned properties or REOs. It has a couple of names, and that's another opportunity for you to buy the property directly from the bank. However, you need to be aware of that you will only be able to buy properties directly from the lender if it's a small community bank, credit union. If it's a large bank, you will not be able to buy a property from them because they repossess uh, many properties. So they won't sell you one, two, or three. They will get rid of bulk inventory. Okay. And typically, the bank is going to do two things. The bank is not in the business of real estate, although some banks are starting to invest in real estate. But what the bank is going to do, the bank is going to uh, send the properties to the to the online auction, okay, such as Hubzu.com, auction.com, and then at that point, then you also have the opportunity to buy the property um, directly from the bank. So this is shown on the slide that I'm showing. Um, so the bank is going to list it with an REO broker who is going to put it on the MLS. And then we'll also put it on Hubzu or auction.com, Hudson and Marshall, or Williams and Williams. Those are the main online auctions. Um, so when you go to those auctions, all the inventory on those websites is bank owned, okay? Exclusively owned by banks, and they want to get rid of it. So at that point, you can also buy the properties directly from the auctioning site, and there are a couple of benefits. Number one, you can finance the property for some of them, okay? So the bank is going to determine if financing is available, meaning if they're going to take a rehab loan or they're just going to take cash, okay? So that's one option. The second option that it's a little bit risky is that you're still competing against other investors. So you've got to know your numbers because you can end up overpaying for the property. And many mistakes that investors make on these websites is that they end up buying occupied properties, or they buy properties sight unseen. So what you have to do if you're going to pursue properties from the online auctions, you have to drive by the property, find out occupancy. You always want to buy only exclusively vacant properties. Occupied properties, it's going to be very challenging to get people out, and you will not know what the condition of the property is going to be. So you can lose a lot of money. So it's got to be vacant. That's number one. Number two, you should be able to peek through the window, talk to the neighbors, get an assessment of the condition of the property so that you can assess your scope of work and therefore be able to know your max allowable offer, the most you should pay for the property before you start bidding on the property. Okay, so again, those are the three stages where you can intercept the property in the foreclosure process. The number one and most lucrative is when the owner enters the pre-foreclosure process, okay? Why? Because you have no competition, you get to connect with the owner directly, you get to see the property from the inside, and you can finance the transaction, okay? It's a win-win for everyone. And you're going to pursue properties with over 50% equity. The second stage is when the judge issues the auction date that is going to be in person. So you don't want to be there at the in-person auction, but you want to reach out to the owner before the in-person auction occurs, right? Because the owner knows that unless he does something, he's going to lose the property on that date of the auction. So they're going to be extremely motivated to take action. So typically, I'm going to show you next how you can do a search for those properties that are going to go to the in-person auction in advance. So you're going to know, I would say 30 to 90 days prior to those properties going to the judicial auction. And that's going to be amazing because those owners must do something about it. Else they're going to lose their equity, they're going to lose their home, and they're going to ruin their credit. Okay. So it's, I would say, the most lucrative phase. We call this the upcoming auction.
I got a question if you got a sec.
Yes. Go ahead.
Um,
Dan.
so for example, like in this example with the numbers you have on here, let's just say that to keep things straight and simple, let's say that the homeowner has missed 12 months of payments,
Yes.
a year before it goes to auction. And let's just say those payments are $2,000, which includes, the escrow, the property taxes. So
Yes.
using these numbers as an example, like the loan was at 50K. So now a year has gone by, 12 times $2,000. What is that? What are we talking, like $24,000? How does that affect
Uh,
the loan amount a year later? Like, is it now 74K that they need to pay back, or does that affect the payoff? I hope that question
Absolutely.
makes sense.
Absolutely. So the longer the owner is behind, then the payoff and the not only payoff, but fines, attorney's fees go up. Okay. So once you reach out to the owner has the ability to get the latest payoff from the lender. So you're going to be able to have a good assessment. But we're going to know when the last payment was made. We're going to know the outstanding balance. We're going to know the loan amount, the original loan amount. So you're going to have a really good idea of how much the outstanding balance is. I'm going to show you that next. So does that make sense then? But yeah, pretty much as time goes by, the payoff will continue to be greater because it's going to accrue monthly interest and fees.
Yeah, I figured, and I just kind of was always curious about that. So thanks for answering that. I guess I was just
Yeah,
in that situation when you're in front of let's say you're lucky enough to be in front of a homeowner and you're trying to help them out. They're many months behind. It's like that absolutely does have to be accounted for, that final payoff amount with the missed payments.
exactly, exactly. So I can show you next a couple of examples. So I'm going to log on to Chicago DealVault. Okay, that's our proprietary software. And in here, under off-market properties, we have pre-foreclosures and upcoming auctions. So pre-foreclosures is, once they miss, I would say, 2, 3 payments, then the bank will officially file a lawsuit against them. And then the upcoming auction, this is the second and most important lead pipe, is when the judge already issued the auction date. Okay, so these people are going to be extremely motivated. So let me quickly show you how we sort them out and the filters that we use. So as far as filters, we have all the main counties right here. And then this is one of the most important filter, the property equity. So 0 to 50% equity or 50 to 100% equity. So I'm going to check
Oh,
off 50 to 100% equity.
You have the slide to show? I don't see a slide or anything that you're talking.
Um, Let me see. I want to make sure that you can. Thank you for. Okay, so now are you able to see the screen?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes,
I'm able
that's
to
better.
do
Okay,
that.
thank you, thank you. Great point. So I logged in into Chicago DealVault. So I go under off-market properties, and then I go to pre-foreclosures.
Are
So
you
in
able to
here,
enlarge that? Excuse me. Are you able to enlarge that?
yes,
Be it
yes,
better?
I'm gonna make this bigger. Okay, is this better?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna pick, let's say, DuPage, and I want only homeowners with over 50% equity. Okay, now this is what's really important. I mean, I can filter by price range, property type, whether single family home, 2 to 4 flats, condos. So I'm gonna just focus on 3 filters: the county, the equity, and then the filing date. Okay, so the filing date means when the owner got into the foreclosure process. So this is when the lender filed the lawsuit. So typically I'm gonna go back maybe 3 months. So right now September, I'm gonna go back into let's say October or November. I'm gonna go November 2022. Okay, so November, I'm gonna select November 1st. October, let's say October 1st, 2022. And then I'm going to search. So we got 390 records right here. I have my total count. So that's really, really cool. So I have Elmhurst, Lisle, Downers Grove, so really good neighborhoods in the page. So I'm going to randomly click on one of them. I'm going to click on the one on Elmhurst. Okay, I think this is, let me see. Yeah, this is going to be a good example. Okay, so let me show you right here what the information filing date. Okay, filing date was January 10th. So this was not too long ago. Okay, so I went back 2-3 months, but this happens to be filed, this was filed maybe about a week ago. Okay, so we know the owner's name, Kathleen Moore. We know the original loan amount was for 378. The balance is 250. So think about this. So she's got if she got a loan for 378, that property is going to be worth over 400,000, like low 400s. She must have put at least 10-20% down. So that tells me that she has, think of this, she owes 250, so she's got at least 150 to 200,000, I would say close to 200,000 in equity, between 175 to 200,000 in equity, and she's in pre-foreclosure. I can see that the last payment made was back in October 10, 2022. So look at this. Last payment made was in October, and the bank filed a lawsuit against her October, so that'll be November, December. So they waited about no, July, August, September, October, November, December. So the bank waited about 4.5 months. Typically, some banks only wait like 90 days before they file a lawsuit, the lead payment. So this is a great example in a great neighborhood where the owner has a lot of equity. So what is it that you do next? So what I'm going to do next is we have to reach out to the owner directly, okay? Um, because we know that she is officially in pre-foreclosure, and find out exactly what she needs, okay? Maybe she went through divorce or a life-changing event that made her, fall behind the mortgage. So the first or the next immediate step is to reach out to the owner. So you can do door knocking. We have the ability to skip trace the owner and get her phone number, so you can call her directly and introduce yourself as somebody who can help and has a solution for her problems. Okay. Um, so now, assuming that she wants to get rid of the property, she doesn't want anything to do with it. Imagine if you're able to buy this property, let's say, even if you buy it for low 300s, I mean, you can walk in with 100,000 in equity, right? And then she's going to walk away with 50,000 or so in just cash, right? She can buy another property, she can relocate, she can do anything. So it'll be like a win-win. So be aware that many homeowners might be in the denial phase, right? Because she just got into the foreclosure process. I mean, about a week ago. So that tells you that, you know, she might still think that she can get out of the foreclosure process on her own. Most likely it's going to be very difficult, but at least you've got to reach out. So this is one of the first stages where you can touch base with the owner, okay, and find out exactly what they need, how motivated they are to sell the property, because you already know they have a lot of equity. And this is a great neighborhood, okay? Um, so we have the scripts available as well, that you can utilize when getting on the phone with these owners. We have them right here in Chicago DealVault as well. So let me close this one and open up another one to give you another example. So let me go back to the result set, and then I'm gonna go, I can filter by filing date. Okay, so I have some that are a lot older. I'm gonna pick one that is out of the 390, one that is more recent, maybe in the last 6 months or so. Okay, these are from 2021. Okay, so I'm hitting 2022. So I think these are about, yeah, I think this is good. Maybe these are like 8 to 9 months old. So this is in West Chicago or Wooddale. Wooddale is a great neighborhood. So let me just give an example. Carol, right? She entered the foreclosure process back in February, about 11 months ago. The original loan was 160. She only owes 130. Okay, and the last payment made was back in December 20. No, the last payment was in November 2020. Okay, so again, this is another example where the owner has equity, and when you click on their name, we're going to give you their contact information. So it's as easy as calling their cell phone or sending them an email to get in touch with them. You can also door knock. There are a couple of ways so that you can reach out to the owner just to find out where they are, how you can help them. So the leads are right here. Now let me show you the upcoming auctions, because these are going to be the most motivated sellers. So again, I'm going to do DuPage just to be consistent with over 50% equity. And the auction date, I'm going to put an auction date maybe 3 months from today, sometime in April, May, in the summer. So I'm going to do April 1st, and then let me search. I got 35. So I'm going to make this bigger again for you guys to see. Um, so let me give an example. I'm going to pull up another property in Elmhurst. So this property, the auction date, well, this is too early, too soon. The auction date is coming up in about a week. Okay, so this is too soon for this to for you to take action. So let me go back and pick another one that is not so close, that it's 3 months down the. Okay, so this is in Aurora, and the auction date is going to be in about 3-4 weeks. Okay, so here the owner is going to be extremely motivated. Okay, because in about 3-4 weeks they're going to lose their property. So again, the next immediate step is reaching out to Robert. I just click on his name, give you his contact information, and say, hey Robert, I understand that your property is going for auction in about a month from today. I want to be able to help you. um, are you interested in selling your home? What is it that you want to do? If they say, yeah, absolutely, I need to get rid of the house, I need to pay the bank, so you can get a payoff and find out the property value and just run the numbers, right? To find out where you need to be number wise, the most you should pay for the property. So for you to know the most you should pay for the property, you need to know the after repair value, You need to know the scope of work, so what you need to put into the property so that you add enough value for the property to be worth the most, retail value. And then once you have those two numbers, then you can compute the most you should make an offer for. Okay, so it's pretty much the formula is the ARV times 70% minus the rehab or the money you need to put into the property, and that's going to give you the most you can offer the owner. And obviously, the most you can offer the owner should cover the outstanding balance. In this case, the balance is about 100,000, but you need to add some fees and interest and penalties. So you can add another 10%. So instead of being 100,000, it might be 110. Okay, but again, you've got to assess and talk to the owner first. So here we have like 35. They're going to be, very motivated to take action, right? Because their property is going for auction in the upcoming months. Um,
Hey, Hugo.
yes.
Hey, this is Ty. I just have a quick question. What about the taxes? I mean, if they're behind on mortgage, aren't they behind on taxes too? So don't
Uh,
you have to pay for the taxes too?
as well, exactly. So, for instance, the last payment made on these was November 2021. So they're going to be behind in taxes. So that's something you need to factor in. Typically, the mortgage payment will include or will have escrow for taxes. So absolutely, taxes are going to be also something that you need to pay so that when you not only pay the lender, but the taxes need to be paid. And that's going to be part of the negotiation, right? But if the owner has enough equity, guess what, right? So you have enough room to get a great deal, still be able to pay taxes that are owed, and the outstanding balance to the lender, plus penalties, fees, attorney's fees from the lender.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but great question. Taxes is something that you have to pay or be part of the negotiation.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, again, we have 35 Hanover Park. So again, this is, for instance, the auction on this property is going to be in March 21st. So this is really good, right? Down the few months, and then as soon as you click on the owner's name, we give you their contact information, cell phone, sometimes email if available. So it's as easy as just picking up the phone and calling them and say, hey, Steven, I understand your property is going for auction on March 1st. I'm a real estate investor willing to help. Um, can we set up a time to meet, right? Because when you meet them in person, you also assess the condition of the property, which is going to be very critical. Obviously, they can also send you pictures, but it's never the same. You always need to meet the person eventually in person at the property for you to do a full assessment on the scope of work. And then when you go to the property and to the appointment, by then you already have the after repair value, so what the property is worth. And obviously, the biggest objection to sellers when trying to sell their property is going to be price, right? They want to sell you the home for the highest dollars. But to overcome that objection, um, the way we do it is with the repairs that the property needs. Okay, so we always overcome that objection with the scope of work. I mean, Mr. Seller, I understand you want this much for your property. However, we need to invest in repairs 40, 50, 60,000, right, to bring it to its previous glory. And so that's how we can negotiate the price. But the cool thing is that these people have a lot of equity, at least 50% equity on their home. And it's pretty sad, right? Somebody with so much equity um, that are just about to lose their home. So it's pretty sad, and this is where we come into the picture. That is why foreclosures are so critical, okay, for you as investors to pursue. And again, you can reach out to them via door knocking, text, email, and then you can do mailers. Okay, in the main filtering screen, we have the mailing campaign system. So right here, guess what? We have, and you can preview letters that you can mail out to them. But guess what? These letters you can also use as the script. When you get on the phone with them, we give you like 5 options, 5 scripts that you can utilize when speaking to the sellers. Look at these, or to the owners. So you can just preview and boom, right? So, like for instance, here it's so simple, right? We buy the home before it goes to the auction. We pay cash, and they don't need to take care of any of the repairs. So there are many scripts that you can utilize right here, right? So these are scripts that are tailored and empathetic to the owner's situation. So I encourage you to try this out and start reaching out to homeowners who are in pre-foreclosure or upcoming auctions. Are there any
Hugo.
questions so far?
Yeah, Hugo,
Yes.
I got a question.
Yes, Rich.
Yeah, real brief. The filing date, under which tab is it important? Under upcoming auctions or shadow inventory? Which one are you talking about?
Okay, so great question. So if I go back to the pre-foreclosures
Okay.
filtering criteria, right here, I'm gonna zoom in. It says filing date. So you can put a filing date in the past, because remember, if you put a filing date for this month, I mean, people are going to be in pre-foreclosure, but they're new to the process. So they might be in denial. They might not fully understand what just happened to them. So typically we like to go back 3 to 6 months, right? People who might be now motivated to take action. So we like to filter 6 months for the filing date. So the filing date again is
Foreclosures.
showing, yeah, for pre-foreclosures. And for upcoming auctions, let me pull up that filtering right here. So here you can put in the auction date. So put a future date, right? So it has to be a future date, 3 to 6 months down the road. So you want everything that is going to go to the judicial auction in the next 6 months. There are going to be some that are going to auction next week. So it's a little bit too late, but there are going to be some that are going to auction in February, March, April, May, June. So you have access to them and you have enough time to work with the seller, right? But the seller knows that the date is set and they're going to lose their property on that date. So you
Well,
have time to work with the owner.
so the filing date's important for the future when you're dealing with upcoming auctions, of course, and then the
Exactly.
filing date in the past. You're saying go back as far as 3 months, 6 months,
3 to 6 months,
3 to 6
yes.
months. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great question, Rich. Because for pre-foreclosures, if you go back maybe 1 month, they're going to be new to the process. They might be in denial. That you might not get anywhere with them. Again, you need equity and motivation. Now, let me tell you, there are going to be some owners who want to stay in the house. Okay, they don't want to sell. So in that case, there are going to be some other creative ways for you to take over the property. I mean, you can eventually take over the payments and do a subject to contract, meaning that you're taking over the property subject to the existing mortgage. Okay, so they're selling you the property, but you are not paying off the entire outstanding loan amount, but
You're
what's in
catching it up.
arrears. Uh, can you hear me? Okay, it was breaking up.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, there are going to be some creative ways that you can take over the property. But the key is for you to build rapport and connect with the sellers. Okay, that's going to be step number one. So again, find out number one, motivation. How motivated are they to take action, whether to sell the property or do something about the situation, right? Um, if they're motivated, that's a great sign because then that becomes a hot lead. If they're not motivated and they're in denial, they're going to be a cold lead, which eventually they may turn into warm and hot lead once the judge says, okay, enough is enough, your property is going to the judicial auction. So the key is to keep in touch with them and fully understand what they need.
Hugo, I've got a question.
Yes.
You talked a lot about the judicial foreclosure states. Obviously, those states have more, a longer process for the foreclosure process. What about the
Correct.
non-judicial states where the process could be 3 to 6 months from list pendings filing?
So I have them up on the screen. The states that are non-judicial are the ones in gray, most of the West Coast, north of the United States, Texas. So the lenders can foreclose in as little as 6 to 12 months. They can take over the property because they don't have to go through the court system. But the states that are judicial, like Illinois, the ones in blue, they have to go through the court system, a lot of bureaucracy. So it takes up to 2 years.
Well, your
Uh,
system, would you have a significant amount of pre-foreclosure properties in a non-judicial state like Virginia? If I was working in Virginia, and I went back 60 days, would I have a significant amount of inventory to look at?
yeah, absolutely. Now we do have access to pre-foreclosures outside of Illinois. So yeah, absolutely. If you're
Okay.
interested in a different state, we can give you those leads.
Yes, I
So
need
we're
to
going to give
install
you
it.
the leads. We can help
Okay,
you
I'll be right
skip trace the owner, meaning we're going to do our research to find out their phone number, email, and contact information, or door knocking, right? The key is to get in touch with them either way, phone, email, text, mailer, door knocking, because again, it's going to be a win-win for the owner, for you, and for the bank.
Hey,
So
Hugo,
yes, Rich.
just a quick question.
Yes.
How often is the skip trace updated?
Oh, it's real time.
Okay, good.
So yeah, it's real time. We
Thank you.
use TransUnion services, so TLO. So it's real time. As soon as you click on the owner's name, boom, we skip trace the owner.
Thank
I
you.
have a question.
Yes, Tim.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Rich, are you finished?
Oh, no, I'm finished. By all means, go ahead.
Okay. So, Ugo, so I just seen the little map that you had up there. So all the states that were in the blue, so we now have access to them through the system?
Um, so blue are judicial states like Illinois. But yeah, if anybody's interested in out-of-state leads, now we do have access to them. So we can give you access to those leads for sure
And,
for
and so
other states.
is it all 50 states that you have access to, or are they
Yes,
just
yes,
one? Okay.
yes, all states.
Is that
Okay.
through
Right.
support, Hugo?
Yes, through support. Correct.
Thanks.
Right. Yeah, but
Okay.
again, pre-foreclosures are going to be very, very critical right now to pursue off-market properties. They're going to be very lucrative.
Okay, and then I had a second question about the foreclosures properties. I don't not for sure anybody asked this, but if you get a contract on one that's pre-foreclosure, is that going to stop the auction? Will the
You know,
contract stop the auction?
Great question. So the way to stop the auction, I mean, if so, if let's say the auction is coming up maybe in from today, right? And you got a contract, so you need some time, right? Maybe for funding if you're going to use a Harmony lender, and you may need maybe more than 3-4 weeks. Then what you can do is the owner can file for bankruptcy to stop the auction, and that allows the whole process to buy more time, but they don't need to follow through the proceedings. That is just to buy more time, okay? That is in case that you have a contract and you're going to buy the property or you're going to wholesale it, but you need more time. That's a way to postpone the auction
Okay.
through bankruptcy filing without following through the entire proceeding. Yeah, so that's just one way to push it. But if you intercept the property soon after they're in the foreclosure process, or that the auction date is still far in the future, 3-4 months, you do have enough time to do something with the property. So you have enough time to relocate the owner, to get a harmony loan, for instance. So then there's no need for postponing the auction, because it depends at what stage you intercept or get the contract before the judicial auction that takes place in person at the courthouse.
Okay.
You know, if somebody was to file bankruptcy to be able to prolong the process, what kind of cost would that incur to them?
So it might be just a couple of thousand, just between
Like
attorney's
filing
fees
fee or
and
something?
exactly and filing fees. But I mean, if it's a great deal, and you need to push that date, it's totally worth it.
Yeah, you could even put up a money for them if it was that good a deal.
Absolutely, yes.
But I mean, if they were to file and then back out of it, is there an expense on that as well?
No, they'll eventually, the court is going to drop the case. Let's say if they don't show
All
up, they don't follow through, then the court is going to drop the case. And
right, so then they wouldn't really be responsible for any money.
exactly, nothing.
Okay,
It's just a way to buy time. That's a great
right
question,
on.
Tim. Yeah, right.
Hey, Hugo, David, how are you?
Hey, David, great, thank you. And you?
Hey, just a reminder, I'm sure you probably misnoted, but they can always, once you get a contract on the property, and if that date is coming up for the auction, the attorney can always go in and request a stay or a stop or to hold it up. Remember that?
Yes, like an emergency motion.
Exactly. That's a little more inexpensive than trying to do a bankruptcy. So that's
Absolutely.
worked a few times. So just so you can let them know about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, David. So the attorney can file an emergency motion if they have a contract. So if they can present a contract that will satisfy the lender's outstanding loan and fees, then that's just another easier way of making a plea with the judge to push the date out and buy more time. So that's absolutely. Thank you, David.
Hello, Joe.
Hey, Sam.
How are you?
Very good.
Uh,
Thank you.
in order to buy the home uh, with the mortgage, do we have to contact the bank first to see if they're okay, if we take over the mortgage or not?
No, no, no. You cannot contact the lender. It has to be the owner, and then the owner will just get the payoff amount. But you're going to be dealing directly with the owner, because if the auction date has not occurred, the owner or it's still in possession of the property. So you cannot deal with the lender. So you have to work directly with the owner, and then there you can do any like a creative financing strategy, like a subject to, where you take over all the payments, you pay all the arrears to bring the loan current. um, then then they won't sell the property at auction, and then you will eventually take over the property. um, yeah, but you just need to
So
continue making payments and assume the mortgage.
Yeah.
if if, if the
I'm
lender
sorry.
agrees, sorry, if the
Yeah,
lender
I just have a
agrees, so
question.
assume the mortgage and pay the payments, right?
So this is behind the curtain. So the lender doesn't need to know that you're buying or taking over the mortgage. Yeah, because it's irrelevant. The bank just needs to get paid, right?
Sure.
Uh,
Thank you.
no problem.
Yeah, I have a question. Do you have to be licensed to deal with foreclosures?
No, that's the cool thing. You don't need to be a license. You can work directly with the seller.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're always working directly with the seller. The moment you're going to work with the lender is once the auction occurred, nobody bought it, then the property went back to the bank now. So the bank is the owner. So that becomes an REO. So then at that point, you do have to work directly with the lender. And again, it has to be a small lender. If it's a big one, Chase, Bank of America, they will not sell you one or two or three properties. They're gonna sell bulk inventory, and typically they send it off to the auctioning platforms.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
No problem. So those are the three stages, right? In the
I have a
pre-foreclosure,
question.
go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, uh, how prevalent are short sales in this mechanism that you're introducing it to us, the pre-foreclosure? Are short sales recommended at all? Let's say they do have equity in the home, but the home needs so much work to bring it back up to value.
Okay. So in
And a short
fact,
sale as an investor would be prevalent to me. Uh,
okay, so that's a great question. So what's a short sale? So a short sale, it's when the owner is underwater. So that means that they owe more than what the property is worth. So let's say they owe 150,000, but the property is only worth 100,000, and yet the property may need some repairs. So the owner cannot afford to continue making the mortgage payments. So now the owner needs to reach out to the bank and say, listen, I cannot pay. Um, can I do a short sale? What that means is, can I sell the property for less than what I owe you? Will you be okay? So the bank has the final say. They need to approve a short sale. They may say, okay, you owe me 150, but yeah, we're gonna take an offer for, let's say, 120. So there's gonna be a loss of 30,000 to the bank. Okay, so it's going to be a write-off to the bank, but the seller may get a deficiency judgment for 30,000. Okay, that's depending on the lender, or for sure they're going to get a 1099 for 30,000. So it's going to be, for that difference of 30,000, is going to be sort of like income for the seller. So that the short sale needs to be approved by the bank. And then for that to happen, you need to, the seller needs to provide all financial information just to prove that they cannot financially pay the mortgage. They need to also provide an offer, so they have to have a contract already in place for obviously a lesser amount than what the properties, than what the owner owes. Let's say they might bring an offer for 120, 130. So it's going to be up to the bank to accept the short sale. Yeah, so short sale, as an investor, will you pursue, how can you help somebody that is underwater, right? Um, you can, again, this is where creative financing comes into place. If, for instance, the owner is underwater, but they have a really low interest rate, having a loan with a low interest rate becomes an asset that you can take over, right? You can take over the property, and maybe you're able to continue making the payments, but be able to rent that out to somebody else, like a tenant, right? So you take over the property, you pay the mortgage, and then if you're able to rent it for higher than what you need to pay the mortgage, there's a cash flow, positive cash flow in there. So it depends on the property itself, how much repairs are needed, what the market rent is for the property, what the owner wants to do. Because if the owner doesn't want to go anywhere and they want to stay in the house, guess what? The only thing that they can do is apply for the short sale, but they need to sell the property or loan modification. Okay, and that needs to be done again through their own lender. to do a loan modification if they want to stay in the house. If they want to stay in the house, you cannot help them, right? Because you need to have full control of the property, either to sell it or to lease it, to be able to help them. But if they want to sell it, then you can help them. And then we have, as part of the network, we have a couple of experts on short sales that they can help, somebody pursue a short sale. The great question. But it's when somebody's on the
So
water.
a follow-up on that, Hugo, a
Yes,
follow-up. Are land contracts escalating back up where they're more prevalent many times to these types of deals for investors to do a land contract with the current owner to have them pay or pay them monthly but still own the property? Would you recommend
absolutely.
land contracts?
Absolutely. Land contracts, or they also call them wraparound mortgages. So yeah, no, absolutely. You can do a land contract with the owner, and then so you're gonna profit from the spread, right? What needs to be paid to the mortgage, and what you can. It's sort of like seller financing in a nutshell. Um, But yeah, land contracts, seller financing, or wraparound mortgages is the same concept. So what's the driving force is the equity and motivation, right, from the owner. Those are the two main factors that are going to drive the strategy, how you can help them. But yeah, as investors, we should pursue short sales, right? Because then if the bank approves, let's say, a 120 sale and the property is worth 150, right? So the bank is going to take the loss, but you as the investor, if you buy a short sale, it's great. But again, be mindful that the short sale process could be time consuming, right? It could take 6, 9 months. Great. Are there any other questions? So starting this week, we're gonna be moving towards two main focuses: finding deals and funding. Okay, so there are three exits in real estate. Either you buy and hold, you wholesale, or you flip. We're sort of staying away from flips due to the current market condition, and we're gonna be focusing primarily on wholesaling and buy and hold. So that is why the focus of the webinars and masterminds are going to be on finding deals, meaning off market, lead pipes, wholesaling. That is why we're going to start a meeting on Thursday, this week, Thursday at 7:30 p.m. We're going to bring Russell Walker. He's a broker, a wholesaler working for a brokerage, who's done over 340,000 in assignment fees in 2022. So we're bringing new strategies, new technologies. So that meeting is on Thursday at 7:30. Okay, so I want to make sure that if you're interested in learning more about finding off-market deals, just like what we went over today, and then learn more about wholesaling with new technologies and strategies, please join this meeting. Again, Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Russell Walker is going to be on the line with us starting this week. And then on Wednesdays, we're going to be also focusing on primarily funding, okay, for those of you who want to pursue rentals. So if you're interested, please send us an email to support@chicagodealvault.com, and then we're gonna make sure that you join our meeting on Thursday at 7:30. So again, email support@chicagodealvault.com, and then we'll make sure that you join our deal finding / wholesaling meeting. Are there any questions on the line?
I got one more, Hugo.
Yes,
Are,
right.
are you still working with Jacob on the shadow inventory?
Yes, great question. We're still getting new leads and new inventory on their Bankton properties or shadow inventory. Right here. Yeah, right here. We got 160 properties. So yeah, great question.
Yeah, I
So
was looking through it also. I
these are
was finding a few on auction.com. Are those possibilities also?
yes, absolutely, absolutely. So
Okay,
Jacob has the ability to find out the reserve, meaning what the bank is going to sell it for, and
okay.
potentially be able to pull it behind the back door.
So we just send a property address to support?
Exactly,
Okay,
absolutely.
thanks.